Hello and welcome to Tabletop 24. I'm Alan, and as you'll see today, we are joined by a very special guest, Mark Cooke, one of the directors of Airecon, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what Airecon is, getting ready for the event in March. So, first off, Mark, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. So, let's hit off straight away with what is Airecon and how did it come to be?
Sure. So Airecon is probably most well known for being an open gaming convention in Harrogate that we run every year. We have lots of other stuff as well, but the main focus is just getting people together to play a bunch of games. And it's kind of got an interesting history. It started off as a joke. My wife was away on a hen party weekend over in the Czech Republic, and I thought it'd be fun to just run a little mini convention in my house. And I was looking at what other conventions are called or how they got their names, and Gen Con got its name from Lake Geneva. And then I happen to live in North Leeds. We are in Aireborough with the River Aire, not too far away. And so I called it Airecon just as a laugh, not expecting it really to go anywhere or do anything. And I still have the first logo somewhere. I mean, even the current logo is very similar to the first one. The squiggle through it is the River Aire. And the original one said, Airecon, it's cool. I thought it was, like I said, it was just messing around, really. But kind of around that time, I'd been to a couple of UK Games Expos before. Shortly, I can't remember which way around it was now. I think I'd just come back from UK Games Expo. I ran this little first house convention and then said to one of my friends, we kind of wanted to go to some others and we just couldn't really find anything at the time. And this is only back in 2015. And so I said to one of my friends, do you fancy having a go? Should we make a proper convention out of this? And sort of about 7-8 months later, that's what we were doing. And we ran a small convention in Bradford. The first two sort of public conventions were in Bradford in a church hall. So it's kind of funny we had to do it as a Friday, Saturday convention because the church had it on the Sunday. So, but even though it was, pretty small at the time, we realized that there was an appetite for it. I think, a lot of these things are luck and timing, and we just happened to hit the wave as people were, as the hobby was growing, people were looking for more things. So those first two sold out, which is only 100 people for the first one and 250 for the second one. But we kind of quickly realized that, we could make something bigger out of this. And we were quite good friends with the people who run Travelling Man, which is, they have 4 stores around the north, friendly local game stores and comics and various other geeky stuff. But we mentioned them, would they like to come on board? And a couple of the Travelling Man team became Airecon directors at the time, and we moved it to Harrogate, and it was quite a big move. Our hall costs went from £150 to 10 grand. So it was a pretty big move, but we were confident that people were looking for something else in the calendar, and thankfully that's how it's turned out to be, and it's just really grown from there.
Yeah, it's a great convention. It was our first time last year, and we live in the Midlands, so for us, anything north of sort of Sheffield tends to get a bit more difficult. So actually, we were looking for something else in the calendar. It was there, like you say, it fills that gap. And for those not familiar with the UK, obviously, Leeds is probably 2/3 of the way up the country, more or less, unless you get into the top end of Scotland.
I mean, it depends if you count Scotland. If you count Scotland, we're bang in the middle.
Right. So there you go.
In England, we're about 2/3 of the way up.
So obviously, for the Midlands, UKG is the big one. It's Birmingham. Yeah. It's quite easy to get to. Actually, you sit really nicely in that spot, in that sort of geographical area that I think it draws a lot of people in. We do a lot of events for a Fleming local game store, Living Realms. So I believe you may be familiar with them. I think you've been in there in the last couple of weeks. So we deal with Fabio quite a lot. So we do a lot of travelling to Leeds. And I think, there's some stuff going down south, but it's got that. And you've got Tabletop Scotland as well going further north for that. So what can we expect in 2023? Obviously, you've grown quite quickly.
Yeah.
It's just more and more, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things for us is we've sort of stopped officially publishing off figures of attendance. You can still find them on the website if you really bothered, but we didn't really want to go for the just grow. Although we are seeing growth, it's good, but we kind of felt like that would drive it in the wrong sort of direction. Like, what we wanted to create is a welcoming and friendly and inclusive convention. So that's really what we're trying to focus on, and we use our post-event surveys to do that. But at the same time, there are more and more people that keep hearing about it and wanting to keep coming. So at that same venue in Harrogate, they sort of have two ends of this convention centre, and one end is, I can't remember what they call it now, conferences end or something, and the other one is the exhibition end or something like that. And since we moved there back in 2017, we've been at kind of the conference end, and that big hall that we had was is actually their biggest hall that they have. It's a slightly odd shape and got pillars everywhere. And there wasn't really much more room for us to grow at that end easily. So we've actually moved the convention to the other end, to exhibition end or whatever they call it. And so we have four bigger halls now. They're all kind of connected. They're all smaller than the big hall that we had last year, but they're more traditional, just square shapes and no pillars, so a bit easier to use. And so, yeah, I moved down there. We'll still have even more open gaming space. The big library still coming from Traveller Man. Watch It Played are coming back again to run some events and just be around to play games and stuff. More exhibitors. So we now have a dedicated exhibitor hall for people that have been in the past. We've kind of had it in the middle of that big hall with open gaming on either side. And kind of, it was great having them in the mix, but it was quite hard in the evenings. You had to barrier it off and have security and things like that. But now we'll have a dedicated exhibit hall, and we'll just be able to close that down in the evenings, and gaming can carry on in the other halls. So a bit more usable. And we put exhibitor spaces on sale, and we were kind of originally using about 2/3 of this hall. And we were going to put the Bring and Buy in the back, but it sold out super quick. So he said, we'll move the Bring and Buy out and put it somewhere else and open up the rest of the hall. And that sold out as well. So we've got over 80 exhibitors coming this year, all sorts of goodies, gaming, people showing off games and accessories and clothing and art, prints and all sorts of stuff. So that'll be exciting to see. And more RPGs, more events, loads of stuff
Just
going
more.
on. We're ramping up some of the tournaments. So we've got some really exciting tournaments coming, including Unmatched, Crokinole, Hive, I'm trying to remember all, King of Tokyo. So lots of... Strike will probably be back as well. That was a really good event last year.
Always a fan favourite on that one. So
yeah.
It looks like it's just going to be more. It's evolving every year, getting a little bit different, and just trying not to move the focus away from what the core is of. You're there to have fun and play.
Exactly.
And it was our first thing, having been to UKGE several times and been to other conventions for other things. When you come to Airecon, it's just so much more relaxed because the focus is on the playing. And yes, there's the exhibits, yes, there's the events and stuff like that. But I don't think I've ever sat down and played more games than when I have at Airecon, and I think that's really nice. And
that's great.
Having conversations with people as well. Just they'll walk past, they'll say, what's that? Last year we had smartphone ink set up in the eyes, because it's got a nice table presence. It's big, it's different, and it's really personable, I think, in that space. So that's a bit of what it meant to me. But what does Airecon mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's that, and it's really it's what I love about board gaming in general is kind of bringing people together under a common sort of activity, I suppose. And it's what I love about even just going down to a local game night where you might not know anyone. You put a game down, and instantly you've got something in common. You're all sharing this this game together, and I think that's what we try to do with Airecon. Just obviously more and bigger and lots of it, and a lot of our events are focused around just trying to get people to know each other and introduce people to each other, and the whole focus of the convention is really that. We put a lot of effort into. We have an app that we use that has a whole game arranging system as part of it, and really that's what we're trying to do, is just provide these opportunities for people to come together and enjoy a shared hobby, I suppose.
Yeah, and the game system that you've mentioned there, it's obviously got the bits in there for the bring and buy as well, hasn't it? And
yeah.
That was so refreshing, because I've been to a few bring and buys, and let's be honest, most bring and buys are car boot sales, aren't they? They're thrown in a room, prices put on them, but no, the game system, it allows you to browse, see what's going on in there, and actually you can check what you've sold. It's really quite. It's a 21st century car boot sale in that sense, isn't it? So, but it's done really well, and I think a very, very sort of good, unique system in that sense. So
yeah, that's great.
Over the years, you must have got some memories and some fond ones. What's probably the fondest one for you?
Yeah, it's tough. I suppose actually it's the same memory that happens every year, and there's 4 of us that are directors, and then we obviously have a bunch of team leaders and loads of volunteers that come and help out as well. But as the 4 directors, every year we've from the first 2 it was just Ben and I, but since then all 4 of us have sort of set a time where we meet up and we just stand in the halls and just soak it all up and hear the atmosphere, and the shouts of victory and despair, and people just getting excited over the hobby. And I think and that's what we wanted to create, and that's always really special, just being there, the 4 of us taking a bit of time out from doing the various things we have to do to just really enjoy it ourselves and see how much joy people are getting out of something that we've created.
Yeah, I suppose obviously with the role that you're taking on, it's very hands-on, and actually getting time to enjoy it must be quite difficult. So it's important to remember that. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we always try and also play a game. Last year it was after pack down at midnight in the hotel next door. We were trying to play Sagrada, and even our heads are a bit too mushed for that, but we got through it. It was good fun.
Yeah, no, it's tough, and it is good. And obviously, you say there's that time that you sit and you stand. So we've mentioned there that the focus is on the playing of the games, and the focus is on having fun and community. It is sort of dusk till dawn gaming as well, isn't it? And there's a lot of people that go quite late into the night.
Yeah. We tried to, for a few years, we tried to resist going too late. Some people are saying, I quite like the fact that you kick out at 11, I have to go back to my hotel, but the shouts got too loud for us to ignore. So Saturday night, we're open till about 1:30 in the morning. And that was amazing. The first year we did that, which I think was the event before last, not the year before last, obviously. After 11 o'clock, I kind of went upstairs into the hall that we'd left open late, and that was the first hall that we used when we first moved to Harrogate. And it was amazing, because when we first went in, the whole convention was in that hall. Like, we had RPGs and bring and buy and food, and about half of it was just tables for playing games. This time, the whole room was just people playing games, and it was still, after midnight, and it was still full. And so there's more people in at that point just playing games. So, so we will be still doing open late. And I know people go back to the hotels, and I think it's handy the way Harrogate is set up. The convention centre right in the town centre there. Most of the hotels are within a few minutes walk. So people go back to those. We've kind of called all the hotels beforehand and warn them and just say, look, people might want to do this. Is it okay? And we know some people go into the wee hours playing games and come back for more the next day.
Yeah, so we've actually had some footage in our recap from this year's, where one of our guys just nipped upstairs just before we left. I think we were leaving about 11:45, so that sort of time again. And this room, it might as well have been 6 o'clock in the evening. It was just so loud, with people just having a good time. There wasn't an empty seat. So it was actually really good to see, and I think that just says that everybody's just there to have a good time and have that through. And you mentioned the location. There's not only you got the hotels, there's a lot of Airbnbs. So again, those that don't know Harrogate, it's quite a traditionally touristy town anyway. And actually, that having the convention in that March period, you've not got your standard tourists, so actually you tend to find a decent deal, I think, out there for some of it as well.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it's a really lovely place to take some time out and wander into the centre there. Great places to go. Well,
one of our group this year, he's bringing his partner, and she's going off all 3 days into Harrogate just to soak all that in while he's with us gaming. So that's going to be a bit of an interesting one. So for everybody, it's fun for everybody that way.
Yeah,
so where do you sort of see Airecon going in the next few years? You said like you're not publishing the figures, and you're looking for that sort of steady growth. But what's coming up?
I think certainly for the next couple of years, the focus is on this move to the new halls and just seeing how that goes and seeing how that feels. We've spoken about lots of other stuff, like carrying on growing the current event as long as we're able to retain that feeling. We've talked about doing other events in the year. It is a bit more crowded than when we first started Airecon, and we want to be sensitive to that. So there's lots of conversations going on. We might try and do a different type of event where it's more like a kind of a smaller residential event in a hotel or something like that, where it's literally just gaming. But we'll see. Like I said, it takes up so much of our time, just this one event currently. So we don't want to detract too much from that, and we want to carry on making that as the best event that we can and improving that. So.
Yeah, the gaming calendar is so chocker anyway. It's diluting people's sort of need, and we're going into tough times for a lot of people financially. So going to this place, that place, it might not be as viable as it once was. So
yeah, true. Yeah,
but it's good to have the finger on the pulse there and having a look for it. But one of the things we wanted to just call out. So Airecon itself provides a very safe and inclusive environment. So we've had a lot of things like the "don't talk to me" or "don't approach me" type badges where people want to be very reclusive, or you've got those badges where "talk to me, I'm quite happy." How sort of common do you find that is across the rest of the industry, and how important is that to you?
Well, obviously it's very important to us in wanting to help people feel that it is a safe place for them to come, especially. You get a lot of people that are maybe solo gamers, or not solo gamers, sorry, but people kind of coming by themselves and looking to join in games. So making sure that's done in not only like an easy way, an approachable way, but a safe way as well was really important with us. And very early on, we were consulting with a lecturer kind of on ethics and various things like that about how we go about it. And she was incredibly helpful and helped us type up a really solid but sort of simple to understand code of conduct and things like that. And I think it's good to have, and I think it's good to have from early on for anyone that's considering running events, just so you have that there, that if somebody is maybe not behaving in a way that you think appropriate, you've got it in writing, and you can just say, look, sorry. And I think it's becoming more common. I think, things that have unfortunately happened at various events around the world have meant that people have had to look at, well, how do they approach these things? And it's not just board gaming events. I've heard it from comic events and video game events and all sorts. And so I think, thankfully, the network in the UK of board game convention organisers is very close. We have a Facebook group where we're all able to chat and be open, and we're always happy to share knowledge and sort of give advice if people are asking for that. And so I think, thankfully, I think most of the events in the UK are run really well and do a good job in this regard, really. So.
Yeah, and I think you've got to be able to call that out, haven't you? You've got to. With board gaming as a hobby tends to be quite sort of diverse. There are a lot of diverse people in there, and actually being able to be open and honest and go, well, we are open to everything, and being very clear, and because it can be quite door closed to people if they don't know that you're open. You might well be open, but actually putting the sticker out there and going, I'm open, or this is how we do things here. It just invites more and more people, I think, and I think it's really good. So,
that's the hope. Yeah.
So moving away from Airecon a little bit, obviously show director is only one of the many hats that you wear. So tell us a little bit about what else you do and what else you get up to.
Yeah, sure. So I also run a board game publisher called Bright Eye Games. We publish a game called Cora Quest. It's probably our most well-known game that was a big hit on Kickstarter about 18 months or so ago during lockdown, and we picked up the sort of the retail rights for that, and that's hitting retail now, and that's really exciting to see. A couple from Mike Nudd, we republished Waggle Dance, and then the follow-up Termite Towers, and then we also published Savannah Park, and then we've got a couple of new games coming next year, as well as an expansion for Cora Quest. And then I also work for a manufacturer, Chinese manufacturer called Gameland, and that's really fun. I'm getting to see quite a big range of the of kind of getting games to market. I just need to probably get a shipping agent and a shop, and then I think I'm about covered.
Yeah, you could literally a one-stop shop for gaming in the UK, I think, potentially at that point, don't you? So you're not very far off from it.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not sure my wife could handle me having any more roles.
That's it. But no, like you say, you tend to find there's a lot of people in the industry that've got a little bit here, a little bit there, and like you say, you've got those few hats that you sort of carrying at the time. So, have you found that your experience with Airecon has helped you in the hobby and the industry? Did it sort of launch that for you?
Yeah, definitely, and I think not just Airecon, but sort of as in those kind of early days, I was also volunteering for things like UK Games Expo. If there was any local events happening, I would muck in. I ran a sort of a club for a little while, and I think all of those things help with sort of getting connections and meeting people that are already in the industry and able to introduce you to other people. And so, really, the first proper job I got in the board game industry was with Fog of Love, and that came about through an introduction of someone that I'd met through running Airecon, and obviously some of my experience of running the event and having all these other connections with various publishers and stuff really helped with that. And that was a springboard really to go on to other things, and now feel well placed enough to start up my own publisher. So that's it really helped.
Yeah, that's great. And like I say, the hobby tends to be quite welcoming in general. So it's really good when you can use those connections and those people that's sort of to help you do what you want to do. I think a lot of us love the hobby. We don't do it to become millionaires in that sense. But it's good to be able to sort of leapfrog with that passion and sharing the passion of others, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
Airecon excluded. Tough question. What is your favourite convention?
I'd say UK Games Expo is still really high up there. I think for me, I love the mixture of the buzz of going around and the mixture of gameplay. Staying up late in the Hilton Hotel playing party games is always fun. So I have a really good time at UK Games Expo. I think I love some of the sort of these hotel conventions that are popping up all over. KCon, I was at a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago. HandyCon, if they're able to find a new venue, that was really good. Going there, and then I went to a new one over in Telford, Pool Party, which was a lot of fun, just playing games. A lot of my friends went to that one as well, so they live kind of all over the country, so we were able to come together and play something like 30 games over the weekend, which is great.
Which is always good to actually get the games played as well. I think that's probably
managed to get my shelf of my pile of potential down to it was at 0, and then I ended up getting the advent calendar from Tabletop Gaming magazine and a few other birthday presents and Christmas presents already. So it's already stacking up again. Which
is great, and it's a perpetual pile of opportunity, isn't it? It's never quite ending, is it? It's just getting rid of them at the end of it, and actually having the space for it. So having recently done our Cole of my collection, and that took 6 videos to go through. So so it's getting quick. I was quite busy and getting through that, but yeah, you're always picking up new stuff. But
yeah, sure.
So more as you as a gamer, what's going to be your go-to game?
It'll often depend on the kind of crowd that I'm gaming with. If the most sort of general one, I would say something like Ticket to Ride. I'd still love that. It's in my top 10. I think Europe is probably my favourite map still. Although I've got them all. I've got the big wooden box full of all the maps and stuff. So, yeah, that I would say that's probably my most common, but it really kind of depends on the crowd that I'm with and what I think they can handle. So I have a fairly regular group on Thursdays usually, and we're usually playing all sorts of different stuff. We played Endless Winter the other day, which was really good. And then I've really enjoyed Heat with the new Days of Wonder racing game. That was a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, looking forward to get hold of Heat. My copy of Endless Winter is just sitting out of view, and that's in my pile of opportunity at the moment. So,
yeah.
But we can see your table behind you is actually empty at the moment. But what's getting to the table the most for you at the moment?
We're still sort of playing a lot of new stuff, and we end up sort of playing almost something new every week. I'd say obviously the smaller games that are easier to crack out. I've been playing a lot of Bag of Chips, which is like a funny little just sort of push your luck kind of game that comes in something that looks like a bag of crisps. Been playing that loads. Been playing Slide Blast loads. Just these kind of little filler warm-up games. Everdell comes out fairly often, so I'm just looking here because there's a bunch of shelves as well as these ones. And I got Cacao out again recently. I love that game. It was a Carcassonne killer for me, and that's kind of been out a few times. So yeah, lots of stuff.
That's great. So, time being no object, you've mentioned quite a lot of games there, but time being no object, what would be the game you wish you can get to the table more?
Probably Brew Crafters. One of my other passions, I suppose, is craft beer, and this is it's basically Agricola but with beer. So, and you're running a little microbrewery and brewing these different beers. But it's a good sort of 3-hour game and takes quite a while to set up, and the teacher's pretty heavy. So it's one of those that I probably only play once or twice a year, really. And often it's with new people, so you kind of have to go through the rules and stuff again. But it's a great game.
Yeah, and it's always nice to get those games out, repeat plays. But like you say, quite often some of the games you really love are with newer players. So you're going through everything, which is great to see them discover the game for the first time and sharing that passion that you've then got, that this game's great, and hopefully they'll pick up a copy or whatnot. So, but given a free range, what colour piece are you taking?
Blue, always blue.
Always blue.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I've even got my I Play Blue mug somewhere down there. So.
Brilliant. That's it. So, with all the many hats you play, the hard-hitting question is, what game do you wish you'd have designed?
It's quite a tough question, because obviously I'd love to have designed Wingspan and be a multimillionaire. But in terms of gameplay, I'd probably go with something a bit simpler, actually. I think something like Baron Park, like Phil Walker Harding games, I think always have a real simple elegance to them that I really love. But Baron Park is probably my favourite of his games. And I think, I think just the way it works, but is also still slightly thematic. I think is really, really neat, and that would have been a cool one to have designed.
Yeah, like you say, you're getting that sort of simplicity in design is really good, and actually, I think that shows a real craftsmanship. You've got that simplicity, because you've honed down what you do really well. So it's good. But no, that sort of brings us to the end of my sort of grilling of Mark. So again, thank you, Mark, for joining us for this. We're hoping to do a bit of a catch-up video when we do our what to expect from Airecon, like we did this year. So hopefully we'll get that in there. If you haven't done so already, check out the website. The link will be down below, and tickets are available. So if you are running late for those Christmas gifts and you don't know what to get somebody, I think tickets could be on the cards. And being that it's in March, it's not like they've got to wait for long. So
no, and they come to your email. You don't have to rely on the Royal Mail at this time of year.
There you go. So it's a perfect solution. You're still shopping, perfect solution. But Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so already, check out all the other videos on our channel. Check out the Airecon website. Check out the Facebook groups with all the content that's going on in there. And we will catch you next time. Take care.
Bye.